mushroom-based cigars on the way. What's up, everybody? All right, move 11. What's the word? You said you have... You said you have a quad, right? Coming up. Mr. Coffee tournament? Tournament calendar. Remind me of your tournament calendars. As we continue to turn noobs into world-class prodigies. Alright. I'm sure that Schumacher sent me a game. Let's check. Yes? No? Maybe? No? The 1st of February. That was for last week. So he did not send me a game. Unbelievable. Alright, move 11. Saturday quads. This week is game 40 quads for me. Yeah, Mr. Coffee, you could have a meetup and go to the same quads with move 11. He's going to a New Jersey quads. Alright, yeah, move 11's too strong. What's up, Antonio Morales? Oh no, Bijak is in the house. I was just looking for your game. The one against Eric Rosen I sent you like a month ago. What do you call those dinosaurs that have like 4 spikes in their heads? Are they like quadriceps? That's a muscle, right? What about the Westchester quads? Do those still exist, Mr. Coffee? Schumacher, you're so difficult, bro. You sent me like a month ago. I probably went over it. This is freaking November, bro. I'm back to November. This is more than a month ago. Are you serious? Wait. That was... Oh, it wasn't more than a month ago. Alright, you're right. It was in January. You are right. Not that one. Alright. There it is. WJ Loof, welcome. Smythe Rosen. Alright, this is not our first game today. Put my game first. I want to go first. Jurassic World, T-Rex quad. That's a long link, man. Alright, where am I? Study. I've got a big game on Sunday again. But I have no idea who I'm playing. It could be a foreigner. It could be a Hungarian. There's like 4 different people. Am I going to prepare for 4 players? I've got to prepare for like Ivic, Christian Bauer. Is Weekend Zay over, by the way? Because I know that Ivic was playing in Weekend Zay in like in the C group or something. Are they still playing? I need to know if that guy is like in frickin' the Netherlands, because he can't. If he's in the Netherlands, he can't play me on Sunday. I can eliminate him from the 4 people I could play. It's either Ivic, Christian Bauer, Banus, or like Prohashka Peter. Ended last week. Okay, so it's over. Okay. I don't think this team will bring their like foreign players for this match because our team sucks so bad. But the tournament honestly is it's by match points, by game points. I mean, so it really doesn't matter. Points is points. They could bring their good players to slaughter our team like 11-1. I have to be prepared for everyone. So Ivic is like the most promising player from Serbia, Christian Bauer, and then a couple Hungarian 2600s. Well, Prohashka's not 2600, but he's like 2570 or something. Anyway, and I've got to be black. So I'm looking forward to that. Waking up like 8 o'clock in the morning to go and play black against the 2600. That's really fun. I'm going to be in a good mood on Sunday if I don't lose. Alright, we're due for a nice draw. So Anish won the tournament in the A group. I mean, I don't know. The B groups might be more rounds or something, but I assume it's over. Everything's over. Okay, we've got Acerbate, Uber Driver, Mirales, Mule Skinner. Those guys submitted games that aren't in the study yet. And then Sumaher, you're last. We've got 5 games. Anybody else? I think Hey It's Miro is missing. He canceled our meeting yesterday, so he's out. Move 11. Is there a game submission from you? You guys can always feel like if you feel guilty about submitting the game late, you can always start a hype train or pay extra to have your game analyzed first. All right. What do we got? Cooking Rooks. He's never on the stream anymore. XL Poker lurking, playing Blitz. Got Katiri's out there somewhere. Morales, you're online. You bought us. No game for tonight. Alright, we're going to get started. We'll get warmed up with Acerbate. Acerbate's game first. Usually kind of light. Acerbate doesn't always submit world-class opponents as his victims. He likes to win. He likes to submit his wins. Alright guys, for something new and totally different, I'm gonna start banning the frickin' Bodler from submissions for the stream, Acerbate. This is your last Bodler from now on. No London systems and no Bodlers. So e4, c5, bishop c4. Now, I've told you this before, but you don't listen. Sometimes you listen, but rarely. When people play bishop c4 on move 2, we should obstruct the diagonal and build the wall with e6. But too often Acerbate is just like on autopilot, so he's playing g6. This makes bishop c4 significantly better. Bishop c4 goes from being kind of a dubious variation to relatively legitimate when you play g6. I know that you're more comfortable, but it's essentially a better variation for white. Now he's supposed to play knight f3. But instead, of course, we get the Fool's Mate Sicilian version. And Acerbate's had this position a number of times. I think you even played Pia Kramling's dad would probably play like f6 here. Belen Lopez, he has like an obsession with playing f6. But seriously, knight f6, I think Acerbate played before. It is possible, but after e5, d5, it's a bit of an odd situation. Yeah, check. And I think we're losing the d5 pawn. So I don't really recommend that. I think you've got to play it. You've got to play e6. So what's worse, like e6 and g6, or putting your queen on f3? It's a tough call. I guess I'd still prefer to be black here because of white's relative weakness on the dark square diagonal here. Did you have someone who actually played this against you? I can't remember. The gyre, the Pacific plastic gyre structure. This is Fool's Mate against the Sicilian. Guarantee Astrobates had this position already. But objectively, what should white do? You know, he needs to get developed. The queen might be pretty good on g3. I mean, it's just a kind of weird close Sicilian at the stage. So I suppose white should just play like knight c3. Actually, he is going to run into trouble with this. Maybe not. Maybe knight e2. Move 11 had a game like this. Against a little kid. Where was that? Wasn't it Move 11? Was it you? Is Move 11 still in the house? Move 11 had a game where someone did like knight c6, allowed you to do knight c6, knight e5. I can't believe, like... I mean, who teaches people to play like this? Like the backyard professor? I guess the freaking Fool's Mate is just popular. h4. So Astrobate just ignores the h4. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to react? You could. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing... I've been doing h6. I call that the Yasser. There's the pawn stop variation, and then there's the Yasser system where you absorb it like a sponge. h6 is almost never bad. We just had a notification. I am looking. I see you. So Astrobate ignores, presses the ignore button. White, I guess, should go with h5 to be consistent. But of course, no, he doesn't do that. d3. And now Astrobate would never be caught dead like developing his pieces. I mean, it's consistent, most consistent for white to play h5. Obviously, if knight e5, he has a couple of moves here. At least he gets him the h5 for whatever it's worth. Instead, he plays d3, knight d4. You're going to need something immediate, like b5, to make this worthwhile. Oh my god. We can't accept this as a submission for the stream. Astrobate only submits it because it's like artistic or something. He doesn't submit it because it's a great game. It's just the funny. It's like the funniness of it. Instead of just like winning the guy's rook with knight takes c2 check, he starts a queen hunt with bishop h6. The problem is, what are you going to do about queen e5? Queen e5, bishop c1, queen h8. You can't just ignore queen e5, but our poor opponent didn't even see it. So this is the problem. I mean, clearly, like, white is losing, but what's the best move after queen e5? There is actually a threat. And I'm not saying this isn't winning for black, of course, but I think I'm not sure what the best move is. Maybe even king f8 would be sensible. King f8, king e7, something that defends the knight. This guy was ridiculous, man. How is this guy 20? How is he 1743? He's drunk? Knight takes f3 check, g takes f, bishop takes c1. Good game, Astrobate. That was a clean victory. His rating is 300, your opponent. This is like his first game of chess. It's like, it's his 2-year-old son. He just taught him how to move the pieces. This guy's kid honestly did really well, considering this is like literally his second game of chess. Did he escape from the mating net there? All right, man. Maybe we should give you time to submit another game. Uber driver. He said like, put this in if you want, but he usually submits something interesting. Another little, it looks like a miniature. Back in the day when I lived in Boston, and long before, FIDE Master John Curto used to do the chess column for the Boston Globe, and John would stick to games that were like very short, so he didn't like to analyze 40 move games. He would almost always put something under 20 moves. So I think Uber Driver's subscribing to that concept, the miniatures. Uber Driver, an old friend of mine from the Boylston Club in Boston in the early 90s. We finally know his identity after all those years. E4, C5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, and then the accelerated dragon, a favorite of mine. Objectively, the best move is c4 here, playing the white side of Marazzi. I'm saying it's the best move based on statistics and engine evaluation. If you're an attacking-minded player, though, this is probably not your best bet. Because in the Marazzi, it's not really about attacking. It's more just like consolidating space advantage. I don't think that it's suited to everyone. What was the quickest first game on the stream? Was that the quickest first game on the stream? I doubt it was. It's up there, though. Astrobate needs to focus more on quality rather than, I'm not sure what his criteria are for selecting a game for the stream. Slightly dubious criteria. But this is an actual game from Uber Driver. He has sometimes submitted like old master games. Bishop g7, bishop e3, knight f6. It's interesting to me. Chess is relatively finite, even though it seems almost endless. Like, if you take this position, I think literally, like, bishop c4 is the only move that leads to any advantage for white. It's pretty shocking. You think, like, white has the first move. There would be several variations where white can gain an advantage, but no, it's like only bishop c4, castles, and now again, like, white only has one move that allows white to maintain an advantage. It's pretty unbelievable, really. I think. You'd think like there'd be so many options, and white has that first move advantage. How could not at least 2 or 3 alternatives exist? But it's crazy. Like, this is the only move that offers white an advantage. And now the most annoying for me is this Ugle with a5 or Oigle. Some weird Lithuanian, I don't know what it is. They don't even have it correctly named, but John Donaldson, who wrote a book on accelerated dragons years ago, called it the Ugle, or Ugeli. I don't know how you pronounce it. Uber Driver 500 brevity. The A5, I don't know, man. I think like that might be black's best, to be honest. That water. Water is suspicious, man. This water looks really suspicious. Maybe it's just the light. It looks really yellow. That's weird. I know what it is. Oh, I was really concerned. Like, why does the water look so yellow? Because I poured it in my coffee cup, and there was a little tiny bit of coffee left in the bottom of the cup. Never eat the yellow snow, kids. Remember. Yeah, after A5, it's like F3. But I think castles is the sharpest. So that's a real variation. If you do A4, you have like no advantage at all. And that's how most of my games have gone. Brevity. But Uber Driver's opponent seriously played knight A5 here. Because Uber Driver knows Reshevsky Fischer. The same position or different? So this is literally Reshevsky Fischer? You actually got it? Fischer Reshevsky, I mean. Obviously Bobby wouldn't let this happen with black. But it's kind of weird, you know. I didn't realize... I don't know. I don't remember Reshevsky playing the accelerated dragon in other games. It was 1958, so Fischer was really young. I mean, did Reshevsky really play the accelerated dragon? Alright, E5. Attacking the knight. So if you take on B3, we have pawn takes F6. If you take on A1, we have pawn takes G7. And then we grab the knight here. So it's a big material win. After E5, so what's the problem with knight A5? Well, we're leaving control of the center here. That's why knight A5 is so bad. Sparklehorse has black. I got 16 games with rook E8, 7 games with A5, 6 games with D5, and 6 games with D6. And that's about the size of it. I guess you can theoretically play knight G4. E6 is actually an interesting line as well. Playable. So knight E5, E5, knight back to E8, and this is the trap from Fischer Reshevsky. You know, interestingly, I don't know if Fischer like just knew the trap. You know, my question would be like, did Fischer know this trap from like books, or did he just like find it over the board? I mean, I'm not sure like there was a known game that existed. You know, this theme he did. It had been published in Shakmati. So 96 is the idea. 96 is the tactic idea, right? The queen is trapped. But it doesn't work because you just take, check, and the king moves. And black would be winning. So apparently Fischer had seen it in a book. Yeah, the shocking reality is bishop takes f7 check. It's a very aesthetic move. Black played rook takes, and then the queen is trapped after knight e6. But that's the game. Yeah, taking with the king allows this. And then obviously your queen is trapped again. The point being that king takes is met by queen d5 check, king f5, I guess e6 check. I'm trying to remember now. Is it e6 check? No, g4 check. Is it e6 check or g4 check? I mean, theoretically, black could play bishop e5. mean, I don't know. It looks like black's going to get mated. And I guess you could just play h3. But if h3, then g5, black can get away. So I'm not sure I remember. Was it g4 check? g4 check, king takes g4, queen g2 check, king f5. That might work. g4 check, king g4, queen g2 check. That looks pretty strong. Is he going to get away? This is mate. This is mate. Suction, please. The only way for black to get away would be to go back. When you would have this check, and then black would have take on this. And that king is, but I'm still not seeing a direct forced mate. It is mate in 4. Oh shit, rook g1. I cheated. Yeah, rook g1 adds another dimension. Another dimension to the attack. So is that best? Yeah, g4 is best. This is best. Forced mate in 5. Actually, queen e4 works as well, surprisingly. I guess if queen e4, we gotta use the rook g1 anyway. Alright. Anyway, Uber Driver, thanks for a blast from the past. Uber Driver got the win after rook takes f7 and 86, winning the queen. Yeah, you said a funny thing that Fischer's opponent, Sammy Reshevsky, lasted 45 moves. But you have to remember that it was 1958, and Fischer wasn't, you know, like he wasn't the 1972 Bobby Fischer yet. Right. Pawn takes, queen takes d8. You know, what's the material here? 4 pieces, so black's got 2 pieces for the queen. Black could resign with a clear conscience in this position for sure. Actually, how is he not losing another piece here? Oh, I see, the queen is trapped. So it's knight c6, back. And if you take the knight, then you're losing your queen back. That would be interesting. Right. So Fischer has to come back with the queen somewhere. And then consolidate. Time to consolidate. Queen for 2 pieces ain't enough. Yeah, that's very aesthetic. Okay, guys, next up, Mule Skinner. Maybe I should do Morales first. I'm not sure Mule Skinner is here. Morales. There's an ancient game of mine when I was young and perhaps promising. Just in case you stream tomorrow. And then he sent, and here is why it's so late for me for this game. I crumble under time pressure. So which game do you want to go over? Did you want me to stick to the first game? The old young Morales? Or the new Meltdown? Why I should have never started playing chess game. I don't think that Mule Skinner is here yet. As I get older, sometimes I get distracted. I don't know, man. It seems like half the chess players I know have ADD. Let me ask you a question, Uber Driver. When was the last time you played a tournament chess game? When was the last time you played like a serious chess game with longer than like 60 minutes for the game or something? I don't think playing bullet chess online is going to do much for your concentration. You actually played 4 games in the fall? You never got a FIDE rating, did you? Nowadays you would get one probably. Oof. 2 wins, 2 draws against 1750s. Jesus. You're just way too good for that. At least you didn't lose. Well, I'm not surprised. You were probably like, you should have scored like 3.5 or 4 against those guys. Probably little kids. Uber driver is limited by his solidity. What's up, Arsenal fan? All right, Morales didn't answer me, so I'm gonna go with the young Morales game. Maybe the study is like gone. What happened here? Whoa. Did I lose my internet connection? No, there it is. Morales is getting Italian. Capitulo 1. So this is Morales. Is that the year 2001? Or your rating or something. Okay. No, I assume you're white. No, you're black. Wow. Morales play French. Excel Pilker, welcome. How goes it? So Morales playing the French. Interesting. Did you ever play French against me? When I played e4? I'm interested to see the statistics here. That's interesting. If you look at knight c3 versus knight d2, the winning chances are like almost exactly the same. Completely identical, almost identical. Totally different stylistic variations, knight c3 and knight d2, but the results are basically the same. I think knight d2 is safer for white, probably, but has enough variations in it that it can be quite sharp either way, depending on how white chooses to play. And then black obviously has a lot of choices as well. You played c5. This is the most principled. You know, you say that, and I get that, Morales, but honestly, like a lot of games when I've tried to play the 92 Karpov style, you know, when you really analyze those lines, it just doesn't seem like white can get an advantage. It's still, maybe it's just not really fun for black, but it's not that bad either. I honestly don't know what to recommend to people. Which is better? Move 11, he was here earlier. He was playing knight d2 and now he switched to knight c3. Yeah, I'm a big defender of that pawn on d5. I don't believe it's a weak pawn. No such thing as a weak, isolated queen pawn. Alright. E takes d5, e takes d5. You know, Watson in his French book seems to prefer... I don't have like the original edition when he first played the French in the 80s. But it seems like John Watson really went for recommending the queen takes d5. I think this is more principled, to be honest. Now white plays bishop b5 check. And I'm like telling Asterbait, don't trade your good bishop when you have like a dark square pawn chain. But the pawn chain is kind of gone. But I still wonder. This is very popular nowadays. Well, actually, knight f3 like right away is even popular. But I'm not here to lecture on opening theory, and I really don't know it well enough, the French. I try to avoid the French generally. You know, it's interesting to see the distribution here. A lot of people played bishop d7 and it seems to have a better score. I really would have no idea. You know, fundamentally this makes sense because it's like black's bad bishop. He's trading bad bishop for good bishop. I don't know how you decide whether knight c6 or bishop d7 is better. Maybe knight c6 is a bit more aggressive. And now I played this chicken move, queen e2 check. I will make one comment. I saw a recent game from one of my people that I work with where something similar was played and black played like queen e7. I guess you could say, like, if we trade queens here, the theory is that the isolated pawn is more of a weakness in positions where there's less pieces on the board, you know, so but I'm not really buying this weakness shit, you know. I think it's one of the next to material, like the weakness of the isolated pawn is one of the most overhyped things in chess. It deters a lot of people from playing IQP positions. Honestly, I think that black's control of the center is solid here, and he's probably okay. However, like, if you want to win, probably you shouldn't be playing the French. No, it's not as bad as the Petrov. If you want to win this position somehow, I guess you don't want to trade queens. You know, but objectively, like, this is the safest continuation. I mean, I looked at the database. It's like Holmov and Predrag Nikolic. You know, you're probably all right. Bishop e6 is a real combative move, but I suppose it's playable. I would be concerned about like knight f3, knight g5. I guess it's not on. But I mean, we're gonna need to resolve this situation here with these pawns. Are we gonna take? Is he gonna take on c5? Is c4 a move? Absolutely. Yeah, interesting suggestion from Arsenal fan. Yeah, it's a move. I think that most people would be like too dogmatic to play that, but it's an interesting idea. I would think development would still be best for white. There's a game here with pawn takes pawn, but Tukmakov lost with knight f3. It's unbelievable. There's only one game from this position. So that's funny. So Holmov played more than one move here. He played queen e7 against Westerinen and won, unbelievably. And then he went on to play bishop e6 against... Oh no, he played this first. First he beat Tukmakov with black with bishop e6 and then beat Westerinen with queen e7. That's pretty funny, man. Oh no, I know queen e2 is definitely not the best for white. Like, there's no question. No, queen e2 is, I said, it's a chicken move. This is just a full-on chicken move. Here's an interesting move, knight e2. That way, like, you can maybe play knight f3 and the knights are more or less not getting in each other's way later. Okay, knight e2 is kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't like queen e2. Oh, there's a game, Gusenov Carlsen. Oh no, Karpov Unziker. What's Gusenov Carlsen? Well, the problem is in your move. Now it's looking like the Marshall defense, man, or the Marshall variation. The way you're playing it here, is this a transition to a Marshall variation? I guess Queen E2 is weak, but I'm a little suspicious. So what I'm talking about is the Marshall variation. Yeah, we can't have a transition to that because the knight's on D2. In the Marshall variation, the knight would be on C3, which is really better for white with more pressure on D5. Okay. So this is interesting. You're sacking a pawn temporarily. Knight F6. Can he hold on to this pawn? So that seems to be the big question. Knight B3. Castles. I mean, white is up a pawn. Way too many people are materialistic. But yeah, every position has to be evaluated by its own merits. The counterplay here for black along the E file looks like it's like not that fast. We need 2 moves. Really, that's getting my pawn back is really appealing idea. Another thing for black will probably be knight e4. Any variations where you can put knight e4 in these because in a lot of cases in the Tarrasch, the knight is like going to e7. If the knight's on e7 and you're like bishop's on d6, you very rarely can get the knight to e4. But because it's on f6 here, there's a chance you get to play knight e4 later, where the knight's very active. So white played bishop e3, and now you played a6. But I don't really like the look of a6. Maybe it's the best move. Very equal position. I don't know, man. I'm down a pawn. And I don't overestimate the value of material, but I can't call it an equal position till I get that pawn back. And equal is not a word I would use to describe this position in Excel poker. Maybe the engine says it's equal. I don't know. I don't want to turn it on. But yeah, rook e8 looks like the move I would choose. This is apparently a variation. Very interesting. White has a great score, very few losses. But I mean, how often do you see white castling queenside in the Tarrasch French? That's a really, unique line. It's much more like a Sicilian, almost, than a French. So Morales played a6, which is a huge time loser. If Morales was playing Morales, white would probably play bishop a4. This is one of his favorite moves. Yeah, I'm just reminded of your old rook takes e4 in the Scandinavian against me. Yeah, I like bishop a4. It isn't a move that's common, and it looks a bit weird because the bishop has nowhere to go. So he goes back to d3, and this has never been played before. Okay, there's a major problem now. I mean, the d4. So ultimately, white gives black too much control of the center with this move, I guess. I mean, one of the reasons for like bishop a4 is to keep, I guess, discouraging rook e8, like Tatai Ullman. d4, I think, might work with the bishop on d3. We can play it immediately. So this is definitely allowing d4. Oh, you want to castle queenside. Bishop, queen, too much material. Arsenal fan, good question. But d4 castles queenside, I can sack the queen. You give me too many pieces. It's a rook and 2 bishops for the queen. It's too much material. I would guess. That's probably good for black. 3 pieces. What do we got? Yeah, 2 bishops and a rook for the queen. It's massive. Plus the pawns, but I still think under no circumstances is white better there. If white is equal, he's lucky. Yeah, so that's a nice try, but it doesn't quite work. So now white has a problem with the E file. Yeah, maybe he even blundered that because of what you're saying. Maybe he thought he had it and then like realized that's why he played bishop d3, thinking that d4 maybe doesn't work. So after bishop g5, I would also consider this, because it cuts out the a5 check. The obvious problems for black here include bishop g4 and rook e8. You know, I don't know. It looks like white's in trouble. He probably has to castle and just like lose the pawn on c5 at the bare minimum when black has more space now. I'm not sure that bishop g5 is better. Now we can play bishop takes c5 right away. This is interesting because if knight takes c5, rook e8, white can go back with like knight e4. But there's weird in between moves like bishop takes, for example, bishop takes c5, bishop takes f6. I'm not liking that. I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so Morales is right. Rook e8 is a good move. Castle's queenside. And now you can take the pawn back if you want with bishop takes c5. I need to get the pawn back. That pawn is not only an extra pawn for white, but it's also cramping black's play on the queen side. So, you know, this is kind of in our airspace, taking away key squares. I guess the problem is bishop takes c5, bishop f6, like Arsenal's talking about again. This problem crops up yet again. This in-between move is very unpleasant. So there's more to it than just like playing bishop g4 to force f3. Yeah, bishop g4 is a good move. I was going to say you could play it a move earlier. You could have played it here. This is actually interesting. If you play it first, and he plays like f3, now your rooks are connected. So here things get really interesting. Now you could play bishop takes c5, maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. All the bishops are hanging. It doesn't work. The point is rook e8. There's this awkward move. I wouldn't be surprised if we could sack a queen. No, nothing would surprise me. Knight e4, bishop d8, rook d8. How's our This is too fantastic, probably. Doesn't work. Damn. I'm getting too creative. Alright. But anyways, it looks like what you played is fine. Now bishop e6. So again, bishop takes c5. Wait, don't you have it now? You're just going to end up with 2 bishops hanging. Queen f2. Although we do need to calculate. Yeah, I guess you have to hold off. I don't really like getting in the way of our rook here. But obviously bishop h5 would just encourage this pawn avalanche. I just have this weird feeling like you might have something better all the time. You have knight d5 here. I have a weird gut instinct that black has something even better. No. Wow, a5. Jesus. Okay, this computer's decently fast. This was flashing. This is not as good, but playable. All I'm saying is, like, I would have been really, like, if I had enough time, I would have been like tanking my time here, because I feel like black has something even better than moving the bishop. You don't see what bishop g4 accomplished? Well, what does it accomplish? It blocks this queen, man. That might be very serious, Arsenal. I mean, there's a lot of variations where he's going to do like bishop takes f6. I think from this perspective, I like it. You know, it takes away this queen's squares. That's for me the number one thing. There's variations where he's doing like bishop f6 and then the queen's coming down there. I like cutting that out. And I really don't think the downside of f3 is that significant. Yeah, he can definitely play knight f3. And in fact, like, it might be a better move. I don't know. Yeah, white should seriously consider knight f3. I mean, it is less weakening. It doesn't leave the square weak. Obviously, you have bishop takes c5. So if white is like a materialistic-minded player, that probably bothered him. But you have like queen d2, queen f4. You know, this raises an interesting point. Maybe like in all seriousness, like knight f3 might be better. But, you know, f3 feels like it's a tempo. The queen's the problem. So it looks like white plays reasonably here. Queen d2. Guarding a5 looks logical to me. And now you play bishop takes b3, which I hate. I'll tell you why. I'm not really satisfied to get this pawn back. And I hate trading this powerful bishop for the knight there. And I hate having like weak white squares for the rest of the game. The computer was suggesting a5 another line. Can't we just do a5? I mean, I'm sort of stealing the computer's idea. But I like a5. And okay, this is an option as well. But how are we going to get this pawn back? Knight d5 is good, but we're down a pawn for the long haul now. You got this access to d3, which is e3, which is good. What's up with a5? Are we gonna have... We're gonna have a4, aren't we? This, apparently. Wow. Oh my god. I mean, if I end up having to play bishop takes knight anyway, I don't want to bother with a5 then. My idea was to play a4, but he has this. No, this looks like a problem. I mean, probably at the time, you might have looked at a5. I'm sure you don't remember now, but if he opens up the direct threat here to take the pawn on d4, it looks like you have to take the knight anyway. You know, yeah, so I guess this is good as anything. The computer likes, it likes what here? Bishop takes f6 or something? I think there's a strong chance this game, you know, might peter out to like an equal position. I mean, A takes B is like the most natural move in the world. He could take the other way though. I guess these pawns are, you know, these pawns are pretty good defenders. He's got the D pawn blockaded. I was talking about this with Yabatis today. Pawns are like upgraded when they capture toward the center. Like an A pawn isn't as good as a B pawn. So in the Keith Arkle endgame hierarchy, like this would be a better pawn. In terms of pawns, this is a better pawn than an A pawn. But I guess because of the concrete position, I guess his king is like less safe after A takes. But it doesn't look that bad, you know. I can't blame the guy for playing it. What now? You have like knight d5? And then you've got this vicious knight b4 sort of mating attack? Uh-huh. So what do you do? Like rook takes? The computer wants to play queen takes. I was actually thinking rook takes to keep this free. I don't know though. So for some reason queen takes is just way better. I'm really obsessed with putting my queen on a5. Well, I guess he gets back the pawn. You just get like a monster knight on e3 and you get your pawn back. What I'm surprised by is how big black's advantage is. It's like massive according to the computer. You know, I didn't think it was that bad. And that's another point about f3. Because it weakens the e3 square ultimately. Now if you go back to move, what is it? Move 11. It kind of makes you wonder, like, was this a better idea, you know, to play bishop d2? But I mean, he wouldn't have had any of that crap with bishop f6, and now he just has a direct problem here. But objectively, maybe this was safer. You know, putting the bishop on g5, I just don't like it. Anytime you have that nothing pin, all you're doing is like trading your good bishop for the bad bishop on e7 in a lot of lines. It's just a matter of, it's the statistical chance of this exchange like happening and being good for black is very high in a lot of variations. So this was good by Morales. I underestimated how good your position really is. But you took back routine style with bishop takes c5. This is definitely kind of a weird move by white. And then it's like mate. You're basically just threatening mate directly with queen a1. I mean, queen f4 is a really strange move. But I guess he panicked. What should he do? Like bishop takes f6? It's not really appealing as well. I mean, it looks like black has a clear advantage. Does he have any other options, like bishop e4? I mean, seriously, castling queenside in the Tarrasch French, it's not like something you do every day. I wouldn't be sure. But it's way more like a Sicilian than a French. Now you're really threatening knight d5. I guess he has bishop h7 check. But this is crazy. I mean, he's totally lost now. You have better? You have some kind of crazy attack here with queen a1? Oh, knight d5. Knight d5 is not protected. So he could play, for example... He could play, for example, queen f5, threatening mate in 2. And attacking your knight. So you'd have check. Like, what happens after this? Are you really winning? You're getting mated, so you have to... What, knight b4 right away? What? Seriously, what happens here? Do you have some crazy move like d3? Don't tell me you have like bishop b1 d3 or something. Yeah, I mean, but the only line is king c2. The bishop b1 is not mentioned. This is my question. Dude, you might have a queen sacrifice. Queen b2 check, king b2, pawn takes. No. Dude, it's mate in 2. Black's getting mated. That's the problem. Black's knight is hanging and he's getting mated in 2. So, without using the computer, I wanted to figure this out. Maybe just g6. You know? I think you just give up the knight and white is probably toast here. He's up a piece, but who cares, right? He's dead. Yeah, he's like mated. Stupid question, stupid answer. If bishop b1, g6, game over. Yeah. Bishop a3 is also in the position. Yeah, this guy like just didn't develop his pieces and got destroyed. But you gave him a chance, huh? All those years ago, Morales still didn't like to trade queens, but he did. Maybe this is why. White's like happy to be alive. How's his opposite color bishop ending? Dude, I would take this knight if it was my turn, but it's not. Shit. You gave him a chance to take it. You're just probably winning anyway. Knight takes d3. Rook takes d3. Pawn takes f6. King takes b2. I mean, this is definitely a situation. There's no saving it. Yeah, you just lost. You can't take the pawn on b2. This looks really bad. If that pawn doesn't go, then white is lost. Knight h3. It's not going to save white. Yeah, now he takes. Yeah, I mean, maybe now white is on the just threshold of hanging on somehow. This is probably the closest he's come to saving the game in a long time. You don't have a lot of margin for error here, is what I would say. I mean, losing the b pawn, I'm not sure you're winning, you know, if you lose the b pawn. So, yeah, he played bishop e4. But it makes you wonder, was it a mistake? if he plays bishop e2, he's got no counterplay, and you can just play like bishop d4. I mean, black is probably winning, but it's not that simple. As long as the b pawn doesn't fall, I think, white's lost. So clearly this is an issue. You can play b5. That's a cute move. Luckily, threatening knight d2. And now what? b5. This is interesting, keeping his knight at bay. But now I think he's probably totally lost. After this, it's game over. I'm not sure there's anything he can do, but we gotta try something. Yeah, it's -6. I didn't think it was that big, but it's big. There's no defense. There's no way he's like... Yeah, maybe like you let him... Maybe here you let him blockade unnecessarily. If you had played... Would rook b8 be better? Maybe that's a little better. This is a cute move. And now rook b8. That's funny. Alright, man. That was a nice game. XL Poker and Cockatieri did show up. Alright. Yeah, I think we have time to do these games. That'll be 1 million bits, please. Seriously, guys, thanks for being subscribers. We'll be back tomorrow with Friday Open Rapid Challenges. Is this working? Import PGN is there, alright. Your last but not least. I've got a couple games left. Eric Rosen and Mule Skinner. I'd like to torture Sumaher for being chat banned. I didn't get a game from you. Alright. Sumaher, you want to do that next? I don't think Mule Skinner is here. Number 3. Eric Rosin. Alright, I don't want to see the London system. So he played a Fantasy Caro-Kann. This is interesting. Oh, he's playing the Fantasy Caro-Kann turned Black Mardeemer. So what is this? Like fast blitz, 3 minute? Alright, very, very serious time control. We're seeing a very serious time control here, of course. I think this is Sumaher's, or Schumacher's, I don't know, whatever, I never know what to call you. This is your, like, top time control. Judging by how you play against me, I can tell 3-0 is your sweet spot. You play every game like it's 3-0. Mr. Chess. We don't have a stream that's complete without talking about cheating. Alright, d4, d5, f3. I would assume so, man. Yeah, I mean, the sad thing about online chess is that we can never have real chess tournaments online. You know what? The good news is... The good news is that it's kind of saving over the board chess, which is nice. So maybe it's good in a way that online cheating is filled with cheaters. We can keep the tradition of real chess over the board alive. Positive spin on things. So, how do you feel about positional chess? G6. I mean, sorry, I had a Freudian slip. E6. This is like for the Queen's Gambit decline lover. The main line usually was like knight c3, bishop b4. Invites French, but it's not a French, is it? Can he directly transpose to a French? Is that a real thing, like e5 here? I don't. Are you certain? I don't think so. How do we transpose? Is there a way to directly transpose to the French? How? Excel Poker, I know you, like a lot of people here, play the Caro-Kann. But it seems like it's only a French if black wants it to be a French. No? You can't, like, force it into a French, can you? I mean, I'm saying, like, knight c3, bishop b4. If white doesn't play knight c3... Okay, if white plays e5, like, no one plays that move, so it must be bad. There has to be something wrong with e5, no? Yeah, I mean, okay, Excel Poker is not like Mr. Opening Theory for a strong blitz player. E5, these pawns look weird. Yeah, if I play c5, you play c3, I play like knight c6, you play f4. You know, it's still not transposing. I mean, you could say it's like a French, but it's not really a French. What is this? What is the refutation of e5 though? It's an interesting question. It's got to be c5. And white has to play c3 or f4. So how can black take advantage of it? Knight c6, f4. There's no clean transposition. Black's like kind of a tempo. Well, I mean, I guess what it is an advanced variation with f4, right? It's not a tempo up. It's white playing f4 in the advanced variation, which is not a very good line. I think that's what we're looking at. Yeah, it's a French advance with like f4. Obviously, c6 and c5 is not a tempo up. It's not a tempo down either. Blobix. Because of f3, f4. Yeah, that's a French advance with the move f4, which basically sucks for white. So this is why no one plays e5. But anyways. I mean, this move theoretically is a mistake because it surrenders the center, but it leads to more open play. You know, so most players tend to play f takes e4 here. Then we get the e5. This is the traditional variation. but it might be a little bit better for white. Very sharp. There are other moves too. Queen b6. The e5 gambit people actually play. Your countryman, Sumaher's countryman, Miladinovic. He's Serbian, right? That looks a little dubious to me, but e5 is tricky. You're trying to get something going on this diagonal. But Rosen decides to turn it into a... He tries, at least, to turn it into a Black Redeemer. But now... Yeah, I mean, you don't really have a choice. Theoretically, I guess you could play, like, e5 or something. But accepting it is like, the correct thing to do. This is an interesting move, knight f6. If f takes e4, Frank Marshall comes to life again with e5. If knight takes e4, trading pieces can't hurt black. I feel like maybe I had that against someone here on the stream. Did I have that against you, Schumacher? Did I play this with white once? No, it was against... There was an old game, but let's see. Knight f6. Nothing here. No. I had a similar position where I played knight takes e4, but it was a different line. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Black Redeemer is not that bad. Maybe it was against you. It's not that bad. But I mean, okay, c6 isn't the best. Isn't the best variation against the Black Redeemer, but it's okay. This looks reasonable. I'm thinking like the bishop usually goes to f5, no? In this line? If you play knight f6, we're going to transpose to like a standard Black Redeemer, no? Why are there no games here? Oh, I'm looking at my games. Timur Garyev playing the Black Redeemer and losing to a 2400. Not playing with all of his marbles. Probably played blindfolded. Alright, bishop g4, interesting. There's another Garyev game. I think he just enjoys handicapping himself. So this is Eric Rosen playing white in a 3-0 game. Bishop c4, bishop f3, man. I don't like bishop takes f3 necessarily. Why are we giving up that pin and why are we giving up to bishop when you don't have to? Obviously knight f6 is a trap, but you have e6. If he plays h3 or something, yeah, you can take. But he's weakened his position slightly. Like, you ought to get something in return for giving up this bishop. Yeah, I would assume white would secure a center with bishop e3 now. Most likely. Probably the best move. Not very exciting to play bishop e3. But Rosen just decided to sack a second pawn. Yeah, good luck against a strong player. 2 pawns. And now he can't castle either way. So I think it's safe to say this is a dubious sacrifice by white. You have queen e5 check, and you'll at the very minimum force him to go back to e3 anyway. So it's very hard to understand like how playing bishop g5 was better than bishop e3. He just ended up like, it's ridiculous. He ended up just like losing his d4 pawn for nothing. I would think like castles queenside also would maybe make position a bit more dynamic, because he's walking right into exchange of pieces with bishop c5, or possible like knight d7, queen takes e3, bishop c5 type of thing. He should definitely go here. I mean, objectively white is losing, but maybe he has something here. Maybe he has rook e1. It's got to be a better try than castling kingside. Yeah, if you play knight on bd7, he'll probably play king h1 and sidestep. Now here I like bishop d6, and then maybe like queen h3. I mean, at least white has some fighting chance. So I can understand playing this. Right. Yeah, you did really well, though. I mean, you kept it simple. You didn't do anything crazy. Now, you've got to be careful about these sacks on the file. So it's probably no queen d6. He has knight e4, although that's possible. You have a lot of squares you could go to here. h5, g5, c5, d6, d4, a5. Probably not a5. You chose a relatively passive square for the queen. But I guess if you go to d6 or c5, either way, you're gonna maybe lose the tempo. Black should castle very soon. Good advice. The other thing is like white could win a pawn and still be losing. Even if we dropped a sacrifice on e6, like you go to h5 and he plays bishop takes here, actually after queen takes f3, you're probably just winning. You're still probably winning, like bishop takes e7, king d7, and like black's just up a pawn for nothing. So you could play queen h5. I guess he has this. That's the problem. This diagonal's kind of soft. But then castle's kingside. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I mean, he's got to seriously consider sacking a piece here. It just isn't enough, right? Takes. Check, king f7. There's just not enough ammunition for white. He'd be lucky to get a draw. Like if his queen was on a good square. So he doesn't freak out. But he played a really stupid move here, a4. I mean, clearly a4 isn't going to help anything. Is he trying to like discourage you from castling queenside or something? And you did it anyway. It almost looks like, yeah, it does nothing. a4 literally does nothing. Even a5 isn't a threat. You can take that too. He just doesn't know what to do. And this is a nice move now. Threatening the fishing pole with knight g4. Yeah, knight b5 was an idea. Possibly in some line. What do you have? Like knight g4 right away? You kidding me? I can't believe you like played h5 and you didn't see knight g4. Are you kidding? How can you play the fishing pole and miss knight g4? He actually mated his own king by putting his queen on f2. That's so funny. HG, king here, and queen h2 mate. If you want to be really... Yeah, I was going to say you could play like rook h1 check, but... Wow. Damn, dude. Queen f2 is the worst possible move. Literally. Yeah, Boykin just resigned here. Nah, this is over, dude. Seriously? You dropped f7 with check? That's not good. Oh my god. Now you might not be winning. This is probably a draw. He's got a good bishop. Your pawn is weak. Your knight sucks. Oh man. I'm sure this is a draw. Bishop's good. Pawn structure is bad for black. His pieces are fairly decent. Should be a draw. Computer's still giving black a full pawn up? No. It's not a win. It's not a win, man. This is a draw. 0.8. Yeah, but only white has losing chances. A good player is going to hold a draw here with white, or a computer is definitely going to hold a draw. Magnus is definitely going to hold a draw against almost anybody, except for Hans. And then you guys just started playing bullet chess. Now white is like probably better. Although I don't know how seriously. Yeah, but you can see Rosen has endgame skills. He's played very sensibly. He never freaked out. You know, you got to give him credit for that. Like, weak players freak out. And you can see how sensibly he played even when he was 2 pawns down. He shows something here that he has... I never played against him, but it's clear that he has like a very straightforward sort of good technique. He's actually playing for a win now. And justifiably so. And it looks like black's just like flagging. You just dropped all your pawns to flag him or something? Did you end up losing? He was like all in. I'm all in. He missed king f2 there. It's a weird mistake. I assume you lost. I was thinking you were like gonna win the game. You actually lost. Alright, that was an interesting battle. Totally unsound opening by Rosen, and then black lost an unlosable position. Yeah, and you had a forced win with knight g4 on the board. Jeez. Alright, Morales. 5 is Coconut. Cocotiri. And then we've got Excel Poker, and that's it. Skinner of Mules. Where is Skinner of Mules? Don't look at my hate mail. La Liga. Is there just one game here? One chapter. Okay. This is Mule Skinner with black in La Liga. La Liga. Masturbate. Arsenal fan? You like La Liga? Congratulations on Arsenal having a good football team. That's how long I've been streaming. Arsenal's gone from sucking to like first in the Champions League or whatever. Alright. So d4, knight f6. This is an over the board game. Mule Skinner is black. Yeah. 1730 FIDE. Usually he puts the rating of his opponent. Mule Skinner plays the Benko. I don't know how I feel about this. My point would be like, because you played the Benko against like c4, I feel like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you should play this. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of books and repertoires probably recommend it. But, you know, it's not quite the same. There are transpositions, though, that might play a role. White's best line is like d5, and then b5, and then like bishop g5. And I think this line is better for white and pretty risky for black. But, you know, obviously playable. It's probably the best shot for black. You're basically playing the ready with colors reversed. But you could argue that there's a chance white will transpose to like the Benko or something like that. But I just want to make the point, like, just because you play the Benko doesn't mean you have to play c5 on move 2, you know, against this like closed queen pawn crap. You could play other moves. You could play e6, for example, and hope that white plays, you know, c4, but then it's still not going to be a Benko. Yeah, that's true. You'd have to play a Blumenfeld or something after d5. Learn to play the Blumenfeld. Anyway, think about other options. I just think c5 it's a little shaky, you know, statistically. Look at that top line there. That's like my cholesterol level in my blood test. A little too high. Definitely over the limit. So, too many wins for white. I mean, 44%. This variation is problematic for black. But b5 is definitely the best line. The others are really bad. Like e6 sucks. You know, you might as well play g6. I would say b5 is the best. g6 is second best. You know, and something neutral like d6. But if you play e6 is really bad. Because of like knight c3. Black has an ugly position. I guess d6. You can still play it. You're going to transpose to a Franco Benoni. This is our best hope. E takes d5. I've seen a bunch of games where people play like knight takes. I don't know if it's as good as pawn takes. But I would just caution you to think about your options. Now we get the e3. So Astrobate had the same position this week. We went over one of his games. Actually, it wasn't the same position. Astrobate's game, what was different, dude? The pawn was on c4, and White hadn't played knight f3 yet. Okay, so Astrobate just like auto took on d4. If you do make that exchange, though, you need to have a plan. Mule Skinner has a repertoire. He sometimes plays Tarash type of stuff. Yeah, I mean c3 is disgusting. Of course, a lot of people play that. If your opponent is like a London system player, they're obviously going to play like c3. I don't know. You have lots of options. I like b6 here, for example. But it's just gonna be a London, one of those bordering Londons with like c3. So let's see what happens. e3, d5. Not my choice. I like to play more hyper modern. I mean, I think it's a little weird that you play the. This is to Mule Skinner. It's a tiny bit weird that he plays the Benko. And then doesn't play in like a hyper modern fashion. But what are you gonna do? You know, maybe g6. I think that's probably one of maybe black's best move in this position, actually. You know, if you're lucky, maybe white will play like c4, bishop g7, and d5, and you can play the Benko. You can play the Benko again. Not the greatest variation, though. It would be an e3 Benko, which has a pretty good score for white. d5 main move after e3. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the most principled move, Arsenal. Wow. h3. Well, it certainly prevents bishop g4. That's a weird move. Oftentimes played in the London, you know, to get the bishop retreat square, but here it has only the point of stopping bishop g4. But white is white, so he's still okay. You know, now I'm definitely playing g6. It's funny, if you look at the opening explorer, a lot of people play knight c6, and that's fine. But I'm going to play a Catalan where, you know, h6 is like an irrelevant move. I think this is the perfect spot to play g6, honestly. You're very rarely going like bishop g4 here necessarily. I mean, there are some variations maybe, but knight c6 is fine. Just you have less ways to get the pawn back if he tries to grab it on c5, I guess. Yeah, I don't think it recognizes the opening explorer is strange. There's no way that bishop f5 is in a line. Arsenal fan, like 4 people in the world have ever played h3 in this position. If you look at like lichess, yeah, there's probably a million games with bishop f5. It's the 4th most popular move. No, I mean, bishop f5 is a totally playable move. If you have like a London system fetish, especially. Not my favorite. Now white played the disgusting c3. So it's like an uber passive Kali system. And now he does do bishop f5. Yeah, you can't force the Benko against everything, Excel Poker, that's true. So I mean, okay, I've seen people occasionally play h3 in the semi-Slav or something as like a tempo waster. Obviously not a great move. It's like a Moscow variation where the bishop didn't go to g4 yet. Yeah, I don't know. Everything is possible here. I think like white is really hoping for this, though. I feel like this exchange would help him because now, you know, we don't have bishop g4. I don't like exchanging pawns. I'm a little worried about this, and the knight coming to d4. George Meyer, 2009, played e6. I mean, obviously nothing is wrong with this. Yeah, knight d7, that's a little eccentric. You can play queen b6. You can play g6. You can play e6. You can play bishop f5. This is probably white's best shot to take advantage of this square. To use knight d4 in some position where it hits the bishop on f5. You know, this looks kind of slow, man. You're basically playing you're playing like a Geller gambit with white with your bishop on f4. So I think maybe white should go for the pawn. I like g6 better. If you're gonna sack the pawn, probably best to do it with the knight back on b8 though. Yeah, this is really bad for white. Trading off his own good bishop voluntarily. Now you've got to decide what to do though. Probably bishop g6. Bishop takes d3 and e6 are all possible. You know, this is not a bad move. e6, bishop takes f5, pawn takes f5. We have such good control of e4 that even with the ugly structure, black's probably better here. But I think the kind of standard move is probably this. There's nothing wrong with bishop takes d3. It slightly develops a piece for white. Slightly. Although this isn't really going to do anything. It enables him to maybe play for e4, Muleskinner. To be honest with you. You trade on d3, he takes on d3, he plays knight on bd2, and then he's going to be ready to play e4 like in the Kali system, and maybe try to break free. My question is, are we making it easier for him to break free? If you do bishop g6, it's very hard for him to achieve e4 quite as quickly. And if he does want to, he probably has to open up the h-file here. I don't know how useful this is. But it's certainly not negative for black. h3 might be better than having the pawn on h2 for white. Maybe the move h3 is like microscopically useful. But I'm just questioning whether taking on d3 like makes it a little easier for white to equalize. White is trying to equalize now. I'm not sure he's ready to play this yet, but that's the Kali system, right? So I mean, you got a typical Queen's Gambit where there's this tempo battle going on between the pawns. And I don't necessarily want to just lose a tempo for nothing. So the most like combative plan here for black would be to not release the tension and also not lose a tempo. We could play queen c7 or rook c8. Asterbait, thank you for gifting a sub. Snedsteg. But eventually you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to really... You can't play this game forever, you know. Obviously. It's a tempo battle. We could maybe play a6. White plays like rook e1. You know, what are you going to do? Eventually someone's going to have to blink and release the tension. So, Muleskinner immediately plays bishop d6, castle, castle, and then I was expecting white to take here. You know, h3 could hurt him in some sense. No, I mean, white is trying to equalize Blobix, clearly. White is black and black is white. Anonymous gift sub. Gifter. Tahani. B49. What is... No, 849. Sorry, I thought it was an ECO code. Hani 849. D takes c5. Bishop takes c5. E4, that's more of a classical kind of Kali system approach. It doesn't work, right? White's just lost. So, that's the problem with D takes c5. Nice. So you took on e4, but why? Why take on e4? I want to know why we're not taking on d4. If we take on d4, he takes on d5, we take on c3, he takes on c6, we play bishop h2 check, winning his queen. So he has to recapture probably this. And then we have to decide whether we want to take back with the knight or the pawn on d5. Probably with the knight. And black has like a microscopic advantage. Suji tactics. Tactical genius. I gotta play a strong player on Sunday, man, so I have to be sharp. I'm hoping for Christian Bauer. But there's only like a 15% chance. I could play like 4 or 5 different Grandmasters. There is a small chance I would play your French comrade. He seems like a really nice guy, by the way. I met him a couple years ago. So e4. D takes e4. Nice guys finish last. I'm afraid I might have to play a Hungarian, but I've had foreigners every round so far. 4 out of 4. There's like a 50% chance I'll play a Hungarian. E4. Alright, so you took here, but this just looks too drawish, man. This is a big fat draw. Ugh. The only good thing is that there's imbalance in the pawn structure. So you can do a minority on the queen side and maybe like eventually win a pawn or something. If the pawn structure was symmetrical, it'd be even more drawish. This looks reasonable. Very boring position. This is a nice move by white, queen e4. A7 not an issue. White has bishop g5 here. Losing a rook. Look at that tactic. Forcing the king to h1 and then taking in the other rooks hanging. There's also this. Oof, look at that. Double threat. I mean, it's doubly threatened. Mule Skinner with the tactics. Yeah, even I'm offering a draw to the 1700 here. No. I will offer a draw to like a 2100 at this point. If the player's under 2000, under 2050, I think I have to go for the win. But now, you know, it seems to me like you should probably play maybe making Luft. Make Luft, not war. I would say b5. I mean, bishop c5 is a safe move, but it's a dead draw. If we must play for a win, I say put the pawns on the light squares and hope something good happens, like a4 here, take, queen b3. I mean, maybe this 1700 can lose an equal endgame. I mean, there are ways to screw it up, though. For example, say you went here, takes, rook d4. It looks like your pawn could become weak. So you have to be careful not to try too hard. So this move just provokes a weakness on the queen side. It's interesting. Not a bad move. And then he pivots over and threatens mate. Well, I gotta give Mule Skinner credit for coming up with an original plan here. That's nice. In an almost completely hopeless position as far as winning, you managed to induce weaknesses in the opponent's position. Yeah, it's not that easy though, Kaktiri. That's why I try to avoid playing people who are under 2000. The best solution is just not to play them at all. Especially if they're from India or some other country where people are like massively underrated. From now on, I'm just going to play like people from wealthy countries who are rated over 2,000. Not sure queen h5 does anything. White's threatening bishop f4. Oh, you sent me a game. Uh-oh. You got to be patient. You got to be patient here. I think queen h5 might be a mistake. It feels like we're like forcing him to make a constructive move almost. But he is threatening bishop f4, so I don't know what to suggest. It's difficult to suggest something better. Yeah, I mean that's obviously one of the suggestions. Now White has like c4, b4. He's probably afraid to do it. Maybe he should play c4. Yeah, I mean e5 is ugly. Putting a pawn in the dark square. We don't really have good light square control. Now he plays c4, and what is that? Oof. He lost a piece. Oh no, rook d5, okay. He got himself into a little bit of a bind, though. Losing a pawn at least. Wow. So that happened fast. White has nothing, black has nothing. Black trying to win. You played this move, which probably isn't that big a deal. And all he did was like one little tricky move and he immediately got in trouble. You know, yeah, honestly, like c4 right away. c4 right away, infinitely better. Queen c6 check, king g1 or something. I don't know. You know, you're almost like pinned here. It's hard to do anything. You can't really play like b5. If you play b5, you play c5, and you can't take it. And it's his queenside majority. I still think you should have played b5 earlier. Maybe queen e5 was already inaccurate. Yeah, no, I like b5. If this was my game... First of all, like, why the hell did this guy like voluntarily retreat? Oh, he had to. Bishop h2 check. Okay. Maybe instead of that, he should have played this. White should leave his queen on e4, man. It's on a great square, centralized in the middle of the board. Rather than doing that, he could have played king h1. I mean, I guess you don't really want to move your king away from the center either. But if I have a choice between like decentralizing my king from g1 to h1 or pulling my queen away from the beautiful square e4, I'm probably going to move my king. Here, this is creative. Yeah, I would have gone with the b5 though. Maybe b5 after queen a5. Sorry. That's another possibility. a4 for white. Maybe he should. So my vote is for b5 here. Let's see what the computer says. Computer calls it 0.0. A little bit better for black. Yeah, I was thinking h6. I said you'll have to make Luft at some point. h5 should be considered, but it could be a target. It's probably a move. So my suggestion is b5. What's the problem? a4, a6. Well, that's what I said. I mean, it is a draw, this position. It's a draw. I mean, you can't make, like, you know, wine out of water. If you didn't want to draw, you had to play better earlier. But this is very lucky. What a blunder. c4 here, then there, and then you got that shot with bishop takes a3. Threatening rook takes d5. What a disaster. This is really all tactics. Mule Skinner with the tactics. Rook takes d5. Rook takes d5, threatening discovery. I keep thinking White will have some miracle here. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Why is the a7 pawn not hanging in this position? Oh, he just went for the back rank instead. Rook c1. I mean, you might have to seriously... I mean, it's scary. You might have to seriously consider bishop c5. I told you should make back rank safe again. You live by the sword and die by the sword. You know, you might be able to play this, though. I mean, I don't see anything convincing. It's not like you're going to automatically get mated on the back rank. You don't even have to play b6. Maybe well later. You know, probably has some tricky way to like win a pawn back. Computer doesn't think so. Wow. So this is like maybe Mule Skinner's biggest mistake in the whole game. He should play bishop c5, but he didn't. I would think like White could eat that pawn, and we're back to, well, it might be a draw. Very likely a draw is still on the table. White plays this, queen d7, and then take. Yeah. So likely it's... Yeah, Tao is really excited by this game, man. You're on this, though. Tao's ashes are dancing around. Anonymous gifter with "Oh no, my queen" gets a gift sub. Is that a secret Eric Rosen account? I like h5, bro. h5. The time has come. I don't like what Mule Skinner did now. He played bishop g5. First of all, you're trading pieces against a weaker player. But I like this move. Give us a little extra stuff. It's not the only move, though. There's lots of moves here. I mean, b5 looks safe. Did we increase our pawns in value or decrease? Yeah, we're real close to a draw. I mean, if you're playing a master, this is likely to be a draw. You should be able to beat a weaker player, or have good chances to beat a weaker player here. e4, allowing a trade of queens. And we're like dropping our f-pawn. Now it's definitely a draw. Yeah. So you can't allow that. Plus you're on his h3. What the heck is going on here? Did Mule Skinner, did he just like not realize that pawn is hanging? Did you not see this? I mean, still it's like check, takes, king up, rook here. But at least here there's like a theoretical chance we can win. Still not a big one. It's still probably a draw. Maybe the best of all would be to not allow a trade of queens. What are you gonna do? King h7, I guess. But I don't like bishop g5. This is a draw. In fact, like you know, you could even be worse in some cases. Whoa. Now, the possibility of white creating two connected pawns, nah, not realistic. It should still be a draw. This is kind of a greedy move, rook b4. I mean, it has to be a draw, right? All rooking games are drawn. This is 0-0. Yeah, king e2. I mean, I would always play king e2. The problem with this move is that you're not threatening anything. Like rook takes e4, b2, and black wins. So there's no sense in playing rook b4 for white. It doesn't do anything. Oh my god. No way. He's got 3 connected pass pawns. Jeez. Alright. Unbelievable. Phew, that was ugly. That's why you never offer a draw to those guys. So Excel Poker. Thanks, Mule Skinner. Congratulations. This is Excel Poker. 3-minute chess. My favorite. Yeah, white never would have lost if he had played king e2, Blobix. I have the feeling. Although I guess he has the capability of losing. So Excel Poker. White side of the Slav. Yeah, I mean, the problem with this move is that it's sharp. So you give black a host of different aggressive plans, like takes and the winnower gambit with e5. But I mean, still, knight c3 is a great move. What I don't understand is like why you would play this particular move order with white if you're not going to play the like sacrifice with e4 here. I feel like that's one of the main reasons. That would be one of the main reasons to play this line. I mean, why would you play knight c3 against the Slav particularly? That's one of the sharpest lines you can play. To play e4 here. But maybe there's no real deep reason. Knight f3, and then well, I mean, my biggest fear is the note boom, personally. The note boom is extremely sharp and very, very imbalancing and interesting. And I don't particularly have a good score against it. I used to play this weird gambit with e4. I don't even think it has a name. I was professional at this to a degree. It's a Geller gambit against the note boom. It only worked until like 2400 level though, and then people started like kicking my ass. All right. So knight f6, e3, knight on bd7, and so you play queen c2. And then black played the uber weird passive bishop e7. So I mean, anybody who really knows the semi-Slav, it's like bishop d6 is practically the only move. I mean, I'm sure there's some offbeat games with like bishop here, b6, but this is strange. You know, as you might know, years ago the g4 was initially pioneered by Shirov, but played by a lot of players, even like Levon Aronian. I remember playing g4. Now, I think that's no longer in fashion, but the idea of it, like the idea of it may be better against bishop e7. Yeah, Magnus played an accelerated Queen's Indian against me too. That's what our game was, although I don't remember the exact move order. It might have started as a normal Queen's Indian, and then I think it started as a normal Queen's Indian, and then he fianchettoed on the king side. I'll never be able to reconstruct the game, just an approximation of the end game. Yeah. So I think bishop e7, makes g4 stronger. On bishop d6, the bishop's attacking the h2 pawn, for example. Black might choose not to accept this sacrifice here. This is the point. I have seen some games where black play maybe like knight h6. When you take here, knight f5, but that doesn't look like great for black, let's just say that. So the only game where this has been reached was f5, but it looks like g7 is falling, so black's position is compromised. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you've got giant rats in your basement after rook takes g7, and the pest control agency is not going to be enough to stop it. I mean, this is serious. You got a serious infestation here. Black's position is basically really, really compromised, and white has a much better ability to castle queenside probably than black. Of course, bishop e7 is bad. I had a similar game in the world senior against Revitz, where he did it in the same type of position. I don't know if you saw that, but it was a neo semi-Slav, and I also did it, but I did it with I didn't do g4 directly. I did like rook g1, something weird like that. It's a well-known idea. Yeah, so his position is totally compromised. Rook g2 is kind of funny. I think he's preparing for doubling rooks. You never know, like your h pawn might be hanging at some time. There's a downside to rook g2, that it blocks the possibility of bishop h3, but it's not a major deal breaker. Yeah, black's position is really bad. The only thing I could suggest here for black, it's pretty hard to suggest anything really. I mean, objectively, maybe he should try to trade pieces. I don't know. I was gonna say b6, but this looks really, really bad. Now he gives you the e5 square. And this just surrenders the center. Black is not representing the FM title very well here. Very unprincipled chess. Queen b6. So it looks like castle's queenside. You've been really holding off on that knight e5 though. I like to do that too. It's almost like you're, you know, the execution, the threat is stronger than the execution. You wait until the last possible moment. So you could just simply play f4 with a monster strategic advantage, but he ravaged him with a tactic instead. Knight takes f7. Alright. That's where you start screaming like a cannibal. Oh, that's so sick, dude. This is just embarrassing for black. I'd have to pause here for station identification. It feels like white has a tactic. I would very strongly consider sacking a rook. It almost feels like bishop takes e6 check, bishop takes e6, rook g7. I'm looking at this like there's some kind of insane combination. But you're just gonna do knight e4 in some positions too. But you don't want him to have queen c4 check. Oh, what did you do? You like popped him with queen f6 now? You didn't do it? Does it not work? Queen f6, it's just a trade? Obviously this is super strong. Cockatieri gave a triple exclam. I wouldn't go that far, Emery Tate. He saw it, I'm sure. But I mean, I keep feeling like there's something amazing here. Like rook g7. I want to make this like slow motion. I feel like there's a slow motion mate. Practically. This covers c4 too. So you're actually threatening knight e4 now. Like, what does black play? Damn, he's holding here. You sack a piece and a rook and it's a draw. This doesn't work. Bishop takes h2. Unbelievable. No, it's too much material what I wanted to do. What did you do? You just like doubled? Yeah. So mundane, but effective. So what if he plays rook g8? You just... Let's say he plays this. That's why you put the rook on g2 all the time. I totally forgot. Queen f6, king f6, knight e4 check. King e7. Queen f6 takes, check. King f5. King f5 could be a problem in some lines. In that kind of line, that's funny. Like, take here. You still have bishop there. But what's the killer move here? I'm just having trouble finding the knockout, man. You just do rook g8, right? It has to be rook g8, rook g8, rook g8. But is this that simple? He has queen takes c4. And your things are hanging. What? No, but he doesn't take the second rook. That's the problem. Rook takes g8, queen takes c4. Seems to be an issue. So we need something else. Does anybody see it? What's the killer move here? I don't want to like cheat with the engine. Knight e4 drops the bishop with check, and we're going to lose our queen. You can play queen f6, king f6, knight e4 check. I was thinking this. Bishop takes bishop, rook takes rook. Allows knight takes d6 check. Whoops. Oh shit. Bishop takes queen. Oops. We can't do everything at once. That's the problem. You only do one move at a time. This actually wins the exchange. Yeah. So it looks like it's good. I guess he can go. Yeah, he's lost. He's lost. Yeah, queen f6 kills him. So, alright, here, check, and then just take. Now, black has one more defense, right? Rook f8. It's just sad that your dark square bishop never got into the game. He feels like left out. You just played without your bishop. Piece down. Well, I mean, his bishop's pretty sad too. Rook g8, and then bishop e7. So what are you threatening here? Take rook g8, right? e5 loses. Well, it doesn't look good, right? e5 falls with check. But it might be like his only move. I don't know. I would just think like takes, check. And you're like 2 pawns up in an endgame. The point being to attack g8. He played this. That doesn't help matters very much. And then the last moment, queen b4. So we're all waiting for this dark square bishop to play its role. Knight d5. And then every square in the diagonal is controlled except for d6. So white could play, I mean, black could play queen c4 check. In which case, you respond with bishop. What do we do? Bishop c3? You can play king b1. Oh my god. Does that even work? No. Shit. What are we doing? Do you just have to go back? Bishop c3. Queen f1 check. Oh, this is okay. Is it? King c2. Queen e2 check. I have a bad feeling about this. I definitely don't like this variation. Okay, king d2, f2 is covered. That's the point. Oh, whew, that was lucky. He saw it all. Check and king d2. So that refutes it. All right. So the final of the game is beautiful. I don't mind your move. But I think it was a little unfair to your dark squared bishop, personally. This bishop feels, well, at least he moved once, but I wanted to play this just to make everyone part of the, I wanted to make everyone feel like part of the program, you know? Black obviously has c5 there. And then bishop takes c5. When black would be hard pressed to survive too much longer. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a mate in two combination. So it's the same. Rook takes f8, queen f8, knight c7, or it's mate in two either way. Knight c7 first. Mine is just more inclusive. It's woke. It's a woke chess move. It would be banned in Florida. Bishop b4 is banned in Florida for teaching woke chess, where everyone has to be like inclusive in the game. Do you remember like playing? I mean, do you guys remember playing like sports in school, in elementary school? You'd have to like. I remember being in like sports for kids, and like there'd be like the worst player on the team, and the coach would like have to put him in. He'd be like mandated to put him in for like, I don't know, one segment of the game or something. I was always, we were always like pissed off by that. Like why do we have to let this loser play? All right, what do I got left? Cockatieri and Blabix. Last two. I'm serious now. These are the last games. You'd have to pay me to do more games. I gotta get my beauty sleep. What is this? This is Cockatieri. Okay. What are you, black? Oh, we should get to Blabix. So I can't remember my game with Magnus Carlsen, but I suspect that he played g6 here. I'm 99% sure. Do you ever do that, Blabix? Do you ever play double fianchetto by like this move order? Okay, bishop g2, bishop e7. Yeah, Blabix was talking about hyper-accelerated Queen's Indian, but I don't know how the move order was. Accelerated Queen's Indian. Castle, castle, knight c3. Now I'm really getting into knight a6. I think this is the bomb. I it's funny, like my best friend in high school used to play this because Karpov apparently played it years ago. And I never really, we weren't strong enough to really, I wasn't strong enough to really appreciate it. But it looks like objectively, after losing a couple games with white, I think this is, it's kind of bullshit to call it the Tivyakov defense. I mean, it was played long before Tivyakov was born, probably. But I think that's a cool idea, anyway. Here, and then I swear I have never had anyone play that move against me. Knight d2. Wow, weird. Well, I mean, it's probably not that bad. I've been getting people doing like this for some reason. I've had a couple of games of this recently. Yeah, in fact, what did I do? As black. That's weird. It must have been a different move order. Okay. Maybe it was in those accelerated Queen's Indians they were doing that. Alright, whatever. I'm misremembering. Yeah, so I mean, okay, we know the main line is Queen c2. There's the chicken variation. I mean, seriously, the Plugievsky Gambit was played by Alpha Zero. This is like a really dangerous line, and black has to know the theory extremely well. If he knows it super well, it's okay for black, but it's very complex. That's like one of the most dangerous variations. I think this is also as good as queen c2, but this I've never seen anyone play. I mean, clearly you have to take on c3 and double the pawns, trade the light square bishops. This is forced, and then the question is how to handle this position now. You know, I really doubt like white is necessarily worse here. But he has the pawn, you know, the pawn damage, and two pieces have been traded off. It's kind of hard for white to attack with two pieces traded off. But I think you have various options here. Your move is quite interesting, f5, but I think on the risky side. This is certainly not the safest move for black. Definitely a lot of different options. One thing I'm wondering about, if you try to blockade, he can play d5. Then your knight is stuck, and your pawns are on the wrong color. I don't know about f5, d5. It's an interesting idea. But I don't like that as much for white when I have, you know, as long as I have this at least I have a place to put my, you know, a place for my knight. d5 is much better, I think is best when, you know, there's like nowhere for this to really go. I guess there's just a million ways that black could play this position. You do have to be a little bit mindful of the like light square weaknesses. If you play like f5, d5, e5, yeah, I mean it's possible. But again, you have to be mindful of the light squares. Is it possible? Is it possible he can play e4? That's the only thing I would be worried about. But at the same time, you probably have other moves. I don't think that e5 by you is forced. You could tickle his c pawn. You know, there's various moves you could play. You know, you might just play knight a6. I mean, I doubt d5 is a good move. So f5, I think he should be playing for e4. That's like, we're pretty close to Capablanca Tartakover here, by the way. Like, very similar position to Capablanca Tartakover. Where Capablanca played like f4 and then e4. I thought. Maybe I'm thinking of another game. So if white plays f4, threatening e4, you have to seriously consider d5, which is similar to a game I had the other day, which became a Stonewall Dutch. But honestly, like, this move is pretty passive for white. I mean, when white plays e3, it's like, well, what is white's like purpose for living, you know? My bishop's not bad enough. I want to make it worse. That's basically the goal. I mean, when you see this position, e4 is the plan. But, I mean, obviously you gotta think about the possibility of black pushing, for example, as well as taking. But e3, man, I just don't like e3. Take care. Have a good night, Excel Poker. I think his main idea is queen f3, you know, but the position in terms of his other pieces isn't great. And obviously you can play d5. The question is, like, if and when. So I think this is a move. You can go after his c pawn. d5 I don't really like, because he's going to chip away at you. Queen c8 is a possibility, because your queen could play out here. Even c6, preempting queen f3. I was talking about my game with Chernyshov, where he like killed me with knight a6, knight c7, and like b5 eventually. We ended up in some kind of position where he has like pawns on b5, a6, and like a knight on d5 or something. It was ridiculous. He's like all of his pawns like on the light squares and a knight on d5, and black was just better. Yeah, e3 is really bad. So I think this worries me. d6 worries me in terms of the light squares. And so he's got total domination of c6. Your e6 is weak. Now, if these squares could be serious problems, the jury is out on whether or not he can actually take advantage of it. I think your setup is kind of standard. A standard Queen's Indian approach. Just have to be really careful about it opening up with those white square weaknesses. I'm not sure if this does anything. You know, ultimately maybe he has nothing to do. Again, maybe e4. Is this a problem? Thank you, Blobix. I love you too. Not in that way. E4. Because we've got a big weakness here. No, I mean, this is what I would be worried about if I were black. Can you go crazy and play like that? I don't know, man. White center is awfully strong. So, I mean, I think that's why we got to think about whether we really want to play d6 or not. You know? It's a very standard setup that Kakatiri's playing here. But I think the white squares are the White's plan, and you should see that coming when he plays e3. You've got to say to yourself, like, well, why did my opponent play e3? You know, what cards does he have here? He's, like, making his bishop worse. The only possible explanation is queen f3. There's literally no other reason in the world White would play this move. Seriously. It's like 100% he's going to play queen f3. This is the only plan that can be associated with the move e3. I don't know if Kakatiri necessarily thought that consciously or not. He might have assumed his opponent's just an idiot, you know, and he's just making random moves. I do that all the time. Never assume your opponent's an idiot. Even if they are. You know, it's still probably not a good policy. I don't know. Knight c6, maybe. But I think you've got to keep the e4 under surveillance. So I'm getting worried here. But I think he missed the boat with like e4. This doesn't really do anything. It just looks nice. And now you can just get it out of there with queen d7, which is exactly what happened. Maybe, yeah, it's probably forced. I think f4 is probably a mistake as well. If White should play something here, what is it? f3. What do we want to do? Like, put our pawns on light squares so our bishop can actually, like, function? Instead, he plays f4. Like, is he afraid of you playing e5 or something? I mean, that's a possibility, but I still think he shouldn't put more. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Kakatiri, I was thinking about queen e8, but I wasn't sure you could justify sacrificing this pawn here. Yeah, that's a really nice idea. Yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely a move that I think any strong player would have considered. But it doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, White's still going to bail out. At the end of the day, White's going to bail out and trade queens and try to draw, I think at this point. He's messed up with f4. So this leaves your knight on an awkward square. I still think you did the right thing, at least symbolically, but he gets an e4. This is interesting now. This reminds me of the Nimzo. I'm not sure if we should cave here. You actually have... you have a ton of options in this position. Should we consider playing the c6 to try to play like d5? This runs into problems. But you have so much flexibility with your pawns. Like if he goes there, then okay, screw it. I'm just gonna play like another plan. There's a lot of flexibility in the black pawn structure, so I'm not sure you should cave here with like pawn takes pawn. I'm honestly not sure what you should do. Definitely the rooks need to get into the game. They're not doing anything, especially the a8 rook. But if I could play c6 and d5, I would go for it. c5 might be good though. Just a straight up like blockade of the pawns here. He can't take c4. He's gonna have to keep it protected. He probably should get his king to d3 somehow, but even that is very dangerous. Rook e1. Now rook a e8. But I was thinking the other rook maybe. And actually maybe you shouldn't move rook at all. Maybe you should play king f7. I'm not sure. It's not really clear. I was thinking the rook should be, either e8 and like d8 or c8. We'll see what happens. I don't know what your f rook is going to do here. I don't see the f rook playing from f8, I think it's either this or king f7. This is a little awkward for your f rook. Now this changes everything. Now the whole position is like completely changed from what it was a second ago. Rook b1. Well, a4 for white should probably happen at some point. Yeah, objectively, like black's knight would be like best on a5, and knight b8, knight c6, knight a5 is an idea. But I'm not sure we want to make this exchange necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of tension here. You got to watch the e6 pawn, but it's basically protected. Man, I mean, I feel like you have to consider every move in this position. Yeah, he plays it safe here, but this is a lot more dynamic for white. I mean, this is way scarier. There's still a chance the central pawns like crash through. The way he plays it here shuts down his own play. And it looks more like these pawns are going to become long-term weaknesses. Now white better play a4 now. I think this is his last chance. Okay, it's your turn. Oh shit. Yeah, this is definitely bad for white. So he found it, knight b8. And now this is awkward. He'll have to play knight b3 to stop... I guess rook d1 is okay. Rook d8. Horrible move. But maybe necessary. Oof. Okay, so can white deal with this? Yeah. I mean, this is a really bad move. And knight b8 is exclamation point. Okay, so I guess he shouldn't do that. You know, he has to stop knight a5. He should play knight b3 first. Now if rook d8. Yeah, this is still an unpleasant threat. I guess he can meet you with like rook e3. So let's say he plays like king f2 or something. You can double on the file. Maybe even just like rook d7. Yeah, king f3 or king f2. I'm not sure it really matters. You know, the rook check doesn't really do anything. We're going to go here. White is worse, but I don't know if white can lose. It's really close. But d takes e is a bad move. I mean, he has to take with the f-pawn. White has winning chances here, you know? You got to be really careful you don't get overrun. I guess bishop g5, you know? But I mean, I have no idea what's going on now. The center looks dangerous. Knight f3. Like, who's better in this position? Objectively, I'm not sure. So I think you should have kept the tension. Can you keep the tension here? Is d5 a move? It's really bad. Wow. Yeah, computer wants to play CD, which I didn't really like either. CD, ED, takes. He's forced to take with the f-pawn. Yeah, I mean, the position is pretty imbalanced. But I think that's a really difficult position. It's hard to say what black should do. This is a really big blunder. Knight b8 is good. Here, 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 and now here. Now he's losing the file. Obviously knight b3 to stop knight a5 is necessary. If he plays knight b3, maybe he can hold on. But after knight f3, how is he going to deal with like knight c6, knight a5? Maybe he has time. He still has time to go back. Okay. Damn. I didn't really want to trade rooks. Can you avoid trading rooks here? It looks impossible. So now it's only winning chances for black, but how? Yeah, g5. I wouldn't play h6 necessarily, but it's not bad. You could play g5 right away. You know, maybe you have your king coming through here. Of course, h6 just costs a little bit of time. But let's say you play g5 right away without h6. You don't need h6. What does white do? He has to play just like a waiting move. Look at his bishop. It's so sick. It's got to be, I mean, because of his like bishop. If it's in a normal place, if his bishop was on like e3, he's probably okay. But his bishop like can't get out because his knight is on d2. He can't go out here, he can't go out here, and he can't get out here. And he can't get out here. But I feel like h6 is probably not necessary. You know, you played a little slowly there. Now he should see the writing on the wall. Right? King h5. His king never should have been on like d... Oh, he wanted to get his knight covered. Okay. He wanted to cover this. I get it. And now you have g5. And now his bishop finally gets in. You have g4. Damn. Now he's lost. Just straight up lost. Yeah, very nice. That should do it. Yeah. Well done. Very good. Alright. The rest is just gravy. Not a lot of counterplay here for our hero. Alright. Good game. Last game is the Blobix. Our friend from France. Sveshnikov. The Blobix favorite. But this is inner clubs. Copy. The Blobix bluff. Blobix is a mean Sveshnikov player. Wait, should I put this in the study? Just for completeness? Oh, we should play from black side. So, how do you feel as a Sveshnikov player? Is the Caruana variation, is that better than the Bishop G5? What's your feeling? It's amazing, like, still so many games with Bishop G5. A4 is probably underrated. I'm really shocked by how few games there are with A4. Only 642. My friend Alexander Ivanov used to play that all the time. And I think he benefited from the fact that not a lot of people played A4, so his opponents generally didn't know it as well as the other lines. But I'm pretty shocked by the statistics there. I mean, you've got 642 games with A4, and man, I mean, it's a microscopic amount. Right, 85 was the era of Dorian's. That's when a Dorian Sveshnikov book came out. The book with the Dewey Decimal System chapter. It made me like not want to play the Sveshnikov. I was intimidated by this book. It was like chapter, 23784.268. I was like, whatever, man. I'm out of here. I'm 1200. I don't really want to like memorize chapter 123587.6. In 1985. Alright, anyway. So bishop takes f6, g takes f6. I play, personally with white I've played not e4 that much, but when I do e4, I've played both of the two major variations here. Bishop takes f6 and knight d5. One line that's annoying is the knight d5, queen a5 check. So the nice thing about bishop takes f6, at least it avoids that. I don't remember if Blobix does queen a5 check. Knight d5, f5. Yeah, so here I've played, I never played bishop d3, the main line. I've always played the others, c3 and pawn takes f5. But what do I know? I'm just a noob. I'm not a true e4 player. I'm trying to think, I'm actually trying to think if I ever really had a Sveshnikov, an actual Sveshnikov with the white pieces in an over-the-board game. I don't recall like I did, but I might have played some club player. Oh yeah, once I played with Antich. Okay, I had one. Bishop d3. Yeah, so now we see Blobix's secret preparation. Bishop d3 is the main line, and And so you're supposed to play this. What's the reason f4 is no good? Because of some trap here? None Fedorovich, 1990. C4 is a move. In this line? In the other line, you're thinking of, Arsenal fan, with like b5, knight d5, bishop e7, bishop f6, bishop f6. c4 is a line here. Sveshnikov, yeah, maybe Arsenal's. He's getting rusty on his Sveshnikov. So, well, I mean, I would imagine c4, it would be a move at some point. But I was thinking, what's wrong with f4? Is it like g3? You just like bust up his pawn structure? I mean, f4, it takes pressure off the center, so I just was curious. Black's played this in almost every single game. Normally bishop e6. So after queen g5, only the computer found the best move. Queen g5, dropping a rook. Don't tell me he saw it. So there's an Arneson. Is he related to the Grandmaster Arneson? Gerald Lowe. Dmitry Shukin. So Lig Turink, yeah, Yemelin, Lucas Brunner. So like three real players have played white here. But the guys with black are completely, random 2300s. But white won every game. So that's a good record. G4 was the old line. Oh shit. The Emery Tate Velimirovich idea. So let's just, for the beginners out there, let's check knight c7, check. King d8. Knight takes rook. And now we play queen takes pawn. White plays rook f1. Play pawn takes pawn. We don't play pawn takes pawn? Really? I would want to get this bishop opened up. So what's the point? White has bishop e2? Knight c7 gave me 8 wins with black. That's here's some poison candy, little kid. Pawn takes pawn. What's up with this? White has to play bishop e2. So knight d4 is the move. Threatening pawn takes pawn. So this is this is the serious problem. So there's knight f3 check. So what happens on c3? I bet Blabis has had this before. I guarantee he's played this position before. Knight f3 check, king here. Oh, that looks fun. This is really fun for white. Yeah, that's a nasty trap. So taking is out of, taking the rook is out of the question on queen g5. I've never played the bishop d3 main line, so I wouldn't know. So what about g3? What if people just do that? It's bad. Same shit, different day. Do we take here? Is that good? Well, anyway, I won't spoil the fun from the game. So in the game, we have queen h5. Wow. Now that's a neat theoretical novelty. The knight is going to be way out of. It's going to be way out of play on h5. That's the real problem here. Black is not that inconvenienced, and black has the bishop pair. You're like, okay, you want to have a knight on h5? It's up to you. But I do think you have to consider which square to move the king to. I'm sure that Blabix has analyzed this. I mean, the good thing about king e7 is that his knight wouldn't be able to rejoin the battle. After he plays knight takes h5, he can't like just go right back into d5. And you still have a place to put your bishop out on h6. So, I mean, when I look at this position, it's just like, wow. Looks like black's just better. You have knight b4 here at the very minimum. Knight b4 has to be at least equal. That's what you played. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was even another move for black, something more dynamic. Could you imagine like black might have d5 or something crazy? I mean, I guess in some lines like that's where you might sort of look at this, because if knight takes like d5, this type of thing where this bishop is open might be worth considering. Yeah, it's really nice. Either way, like black's better. But you went with the pretty straightforward plan here. I didn't see another obvious move. Yeah, again, like d5's totally an option. This looks pretty good. I mean, look at this line, like knight takes f5 check, bishop takes f5, pawn takes f5, knight takes d3, pawn takes d3, king f6. I mean, this is not, sorry, that's not a good position for white. Bishop e2, okay, he had bishop e2. So you went here, you bottled up his bishop, and then you've got f5 breaks. Damn. I wonder if white should have considered knight f1. Man, I would be like freaking panicking here with white already. This looks really gruesome. It's too bad your opponent's not like a 2600. White is definitely like strategically busted. I think white's pretty much lost. Knight on a3. Black has two great bishops. Pawn majority in the center. Better king for the endgame. Everything is in black's favor. Yeah. Yeah, you just take with the pawn. If he takes with the bishop, I mean, this is going to be very strong at some point. Now what, like bishop e6? Blabix did bishop e7, but I'm not sure. I guess this is a problem. He's going to get a little bit more control of d5. So bishop e6, knight c3 guards the a2 pawn. Yeah, I mean, well, what about this, though? He played knight b1, but... Shit, you're winning a piece? Oh my god. You're winning a piece. He's got b4. So he had to, like, avoid that. And now d5. It's like the vortex. White is like... It's like the Wizard of Oz, where a tornado is, like, ripping him off. His whole house is being ripped off and, like, spun around and thrown to the other side of the board. You kind of got to give him credit, though, for... You got to give him credit for hanging tough here. So you have takes and, like, bishop b4. You could play knight takes, pawn takes, bishop here. Basically, that's illegal, though. Damn. That sucks. I told you should have put your king on d8. I was wondering, like, why my mouse wasn't letting me play bishop b4, but my king is in the way. Damn. Yeah, this is the one downside of your position. I thought you had bishop b4. That you gotta have a close look at that king d8, you know, because that could change everything. Rook c8, and now no knight c3. Because you just play d4, and you get material. Yeah. Everything works. It's just ridiculous. What if he takes? He plays king d1. That's really sick. Wow. And now rook g8. Well, I mean, White's definitely wanted to play g3 the whole game. I mean, clearly, this is a great diagonal. But it's double-edged, because if this opens up, you know, White's got some play now. The secret to the position is this bishop on f8. Yeah, you gotta get your bishop in f8 in the game. That's a really nice idea. But you're never taking on g3. Or are you? Now he played, well, now you can. He played rook f1. Yeah, that's a beautiful game. This is a really nice game, an excellent example of playing, you know, and keeping the tension. Jeez. I completely missed f3. Jeez. Ugh. There's no way your opponent, like, anticipated f3. I mean, maybe he did, but maybe that's why he played rook f1. Damn. He can't take it. I mean, he's gonna get forked on e4. So it's brutal. Well, you gotta say he's really holding on to that e4 square with everything he's got. This is unbelievable that this is an over-the-board game. I know you're a candidate master of composition. You sure you didn't compose this? I love this. Now what are we gonna do? Is he finally out of the woods? You got a tactic? You gonna take on c2 and play like d3? That almost works. Finally, White's first counterplay of the game. I'm a little bit worried about this. Feels like we malfunctioned or something. Takes. Oh. Major development. Takes. He takes on c6. Check here. And now what? You got a mating attack with like knight d3? No. Do you? Yeah, knight d3 almost works. Like takes. Oh, he gets away back to d1. Alright. So he went here. Obvious. And now f2. And now c7. Hitting your bishop. Bishop takes you check. And now you have knight e3. Winning something material finally. Ugh. So that's just a piece. And you didn't even care. You wanted to eliminate that. Man, this poor guy, like, he must have been, like, in pain after this game. He really tried. It was almost, like, hopeless. You were relentless. That hurts. And artistic to the end. The artiste. You missed a mate at 5. It doesn't matter. This is a beautiful game. But it's still not mate immediately, right? I mean, he can move his rook somewhere. Rook somewhere. Rook somewhere. Oh, you're gonna mate him, how are you gonna mate him here? Check. King here. Check. King here. Check. King here. Checkmate. Or king here. Checkmate. Yeah, it's all over. Obviously. Yeah, that was a great game. Thank you, Blobix, for sharing that. I'm glad. That was my favorite game today. Wonderful stuff, the Sveshnikov. Inspiring and artistic. Yeah. No, I mean, thanks for sharing. Sharing is caring. Thank you guys for watching. All right. Next, tomorrow, Friday, we're going to do Friday Rapid Challenges. Just like our friend Thomas Reinson is streaming, so I'm going to raid his stream. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one. Thanks, all of you.